What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my Forma building guide for this month's Hall of Forms featuring Path of Radiance units, Volke, Shinon, Ilyana, and Jill. And this month we do have the same skills as the TMS Revival. There hasn't really been any kind of change because Geralt was the last added Grail unit. So the star of this batch is going to be Volke, and for a good reason because he's not even a year old and he's the first Gen 6 unit to appear in Hall of Forms. And this is a huge thing because it sets a precedence that we can now get Gen 6 units in Hall of Forms. So I guess they're going to be doing a lot more recent units now from Book 5 and Book 6, and Volke is pretty much one of the first ones of them. And Volke is actually a pretty solid unit as a red dagger infantry unit. He did bring lethality into the game not even a year ago, and his base kit is already actually pretty good, but he can obviously try and get more premium skills. So he is one of the best users of lethality, if not the best one, because of his Fireman's Hook. So this gives him -1 special cooldown and he can get +5 to all of his stats. He also gets the null guard effect with this weapon, so that helps him a lot against the tanks. And then finally, he can also get the special cooldown charges per attack of his. So that allows him to easily trigger lethality even against many of the tanks that have any kind of guard effect. And just the combination of null guard and special acceleration is just so good to trigger lethality, especially when Time Pulse can bring it down to 2 cooldown. Even at Unmerge, Volke is going to be able to do a lot of damage, and even to like blue far safe tanks like Brave Hector, he can easily do like 40 damage with lethality because that special is really good with this kind of weapon. So he can definitely work out, and his main game mode is going to be Aether Raids defense, and I guess Summoner Duels is. So in Aether Raids defense, he's going to be a really potent unit with Battle Catcher teams in the Dark Season because with the Brave hits, he can essentially trigger lethality on his Brave hit. And with this kind of weapon, that is really easy to do. So he can nuke a lot of far safe tanks there and also quad attack. And you can also use him in Summoner Duels S, again with Battle Catria. She is pretty much one of the best teammates with Volke because the Brave hit allows you to trigger lethality on the second hit. And that is really good for shredding many of the far safe tanks that run Hardy Fighter and Defensive Special, because usually they're not going to be having any kind of defensive special on the second hit that they take. And even if they have damage reduction like from their weapon, like Brave Edelgard, or if they have Deflect Missile, then lethality is going to easily pierce through that damage reduction. So he can definitely work out in those 2 game modes, and just for the general use as well, I think Volke can be a pretty fun unit. Having said that, there is still a bit of competition in terms of dagger units. We do have Yuri, who can also use lethality really well because of the infantry skills. He has got the extra movement and the foul play utility, so he's really amazing for hit and run. And we also have Ascended Joshua, who's actually really good in Aether Raids defense as well because of his Fire Sweep dagger, and he's also one of the best users of lethality in my opinion. So these are going to be his main competition in the competitive game modes, but still Volke, because of being a unique red dagger infantry unit, can still function well with his null guard and the special acceleration in his weapon, and of course lethality being a pretty solid special for just shredding through a lot of the far safe tanks that we see pretty much all the time. And he already has a pretty good base kit, so his options are going to be kind of limited. He already comes with lethality, so you can try and get Ruptured Sky as the alternate premium option, and that can actually be pre-charged with Time Pulse, and you can easily trigger it twice in a single round of combat. He can also run a Rally Up skill so that he can function in Aether Raids defense as a Rally Up trap. I say Rally Up defense because you're probably going to be using Medius with a dark team, and Medius already gives the on-guard buffs with attack and resistance, so that's why Rally Up defense or Rally Up speed is a bit better, I feel. And you're always going to be using his weapon. Is this too good to not be used? But I guess you can just try and get some alternate premium weapons like Caltrop Dagger, Courtly Fan, or even Florid Cane, I suppose, even though it's available in Grail pools. It's just a secondary thing, I guess, if you already get all of the skills that you want and you just want to get, an alternate weapon for the aesthetic. Now for the slot A skill, I would definitely recommend Attack Speed Unity because in the competitive game modes like Aether Raids defense and Summoner Duels S, the debuffs are going to be flying quite a lot. Duo Thor is often seen in Summoner Duels S running Sabotage Attack with Fury, and in the Dark Season we do have Ayers running Sabotage Attack or running Temari Dagger, and Milas with Sabotage Attack as well. So any kind of debuff is going to be helping him with this kind of Unity skill, so I would definitely recommend that. And it is also going to be having good synergy with Attack Speed Oath 4 if you get it, or if you run him with a Bridal Catcher Catria team. Now the beauty of Volke is that he is really flexible now after the null follow-up Sacred Steel, and the fact that we can easily get null follow-up out of infantry speed tactic or like Fallen Lilith. So that actually helps him a ton because he can have more flexibility, because for example you can run Wind Sweep in his slot B and then still quad attack with Brattle Catria and not really care about facing any kind of counter attacks. You could even run Water Sweep if you don't want to face Ascended Iduns and do a Duma, which are going to be really slow than him. And if you give him external null follow-up, then he can just run anything else in his Sacred Seal. So I think he has really good flexibility now at this point. And for his slot B, there are not too many good, like, useful skills. I guess Lull Attack Defense is going to be pretty good against the tanks. And you can even run Special Spiral because some people do like to use Volke as an AoE nuke. So that could be used for the endgame content. So overall, there are not too many options because he already has, you know, half tempo effect built into his weapon. So getting the full tempo skill in slot B doesn't really do too much for you. And then in slot C, I think that attack speed Oath 4 is a pretty amazing and fun premium skill, especially with attack speed Unity when it can protect you against the panic and the extra debuffs that you can get. And the teleportation with him is going to be really good. But if you do think that you're mainly going to be using him with Brattle Catria, then I guess you can not have a teleportation skill, which is going to be a bit redundant. So you can try and get either Colorless Feud for Aether Raids defense, which is just going to be stopping any kind of colorless buffs from stuff like Asker, Ash, Flame, and stuff like that. Or you can also try and get Counter Control if you want to use him in Summoner Duels S. Because of his rather flexible slot C skill, it's up to you which kind of skill you want to get depending on like where you want to use him. For the general purpose, Oath 4 is pretty good, and Colorless Feud, like I said, is pretty nice for Aether Raids defense. And more counter control units never hurt anyone in Summoner Duels, so it's a good thing to have as well. So this is the general Volke build, which I would recommend. But if you're planning to invest into him heavily and at max merges with boons and everything, with Floret, then this is something I would recommend. So you can try and get Speed Preempt for his slot B because now it's available as one of the Chooser Legend skills in the Hall of Forms pool. And you can also get Speed Smoke 4. So the idea is to pretty much simulate Brave Byleth. You can get the damage reduction, and if you fail to kill someone with Speed Preempt, then you can just tank them with that damage reduction. And because at max investment he can get really fast, you can definitely make use out of Speed Preempt and pretty much get that Vantage. So it can definitely work out at this kind of max investment and can be a pretty fun build to just deny some of the ranged like encounters, which could be pretty funny to see as you nuke their far safe tank. Attack speed ideal is also an option, but it is available in the divine codes, and I do like attack speed Unity a bit more on him. Even though like his weapon does have the solo condition for the enemy phase, I still like Unity effect on him because he's not going to be getting slowed down by the offensive debuffs, and Brattle Catria is one of the best teammates with him, so that's why it can work out. And Duo Duma can actually break through your attack speed ideals in the competitive game mode, so that's why I kind of like Unity a bit more now. Jill is an Axe Flyer, and it's kind of funny that we just got her after Tsubasa, who's pretty much like a Lance Jill in a way. So Jill trades the effective damage against armors and dragons for -1 special cooldown, and both Tsubasa and Jill have the Die Bomb effect that they can get from their weapon. Jill's is a bit easier to get because it's always going to be available in the player phase compared to Tsubasa. But yeah, it's pretty much going to be the same thing, and Jill is going to be getting her weapon refine in like a year or more. So she could get that and then become much better. But unfortunately, she's going to be suffering from the Tsubasa syndrome, which I would like to call, because any kind of skill that you get for her slot B is going to be a gamble. If you go for a Trace skill, then what if she gets Canto in her weapon refine? If you go for a Flow skill, then what if she gets half null follow-up in her weapon refine? So that's a bit of gamble that you'll have to take if you're going to be investing into Jill. And she already has attack speed push 4 and speed defense rain, but we can definitely upgrade this to a bit more modern skill. And she could function even at low merges. So if you're a big fan of her, you can definitely try and give her some premium skills. So you can give her attack speed clash 4. Now, for a lot of people, this might seem odd because she's not a Cavalier, but keep in mind that attack speed clash 4 works with the teleportation as well. So it does count the spaces moved even when you jump with like Oath 4 skill. And that's why attack speed clash and Oath 4 skill has really good synergy on any kind of flying unit. And this way you can actually get attack and speed debuff neutralization without really wasting your slot B for something like Flow Force, I suppose. But if you don't really like the Clash skill that much, then attack speed catch is an option. Though I kind of dislike its secondary condition, which requires the foe to be at 100% HP. And then attack speed unity obviously works really well with a skill like attack speed Oath 4. So it's really up to you which offensive skill you want. I think Clash skills can be really fun on these flyers with Oath 4. And then, like I said, in the slot B, there is going to be the Tsubasa Syndrome. So you have to go with your gut feeling and think what kind of refine she might get, and then pick that kind of option which you're going to be missing. I kind of think that she's probably going to be getting a half null follow refine, so I'm going with my Jill with, you know, near trace skill, so you can try and do that. But if you think that she's going to be getting Kanto in her weapon refine, then Flow Flight is actually a pretty good skill, and she can actually get more true damage out of it because her defense is actually a bit higher than a lot of the Axe flyers, so she can make good use out of this. And if you fail to get like attack speed unity or like Clash skill, then Flow Force can work. Flow Force doesn't have good synergy with the Clash skill or the Unity skill, and it can be redundant in the former case, so you can try and get Flow Flight, which is actually going to be giving you more damage output. And then attack speed Oath 4 is going to be a pretty good option as she already has the rain skill, but you can also try and get Assault Troop or even Tempest if you want to take your mileage further with a Clash skill and you don't really want to depend on teleportation, so that could be an option. And attack speed Menace could also work if you're running a Cat skill or Unity skill, so it can have good synergy with that. But overall I feel like attack speed Oath 4 is really good with Clash that you can try and get on her. And Shinon is also present in this Hall of Forms, and it's kind of funny, we have both of the units who introduced the damage reduction piercing specials like Lethality and Deadeye. So Shinon is here with Double Bow, and unfortunately for Shinon, he's not as unique as Volke really, even though he does have one of these specials. So with Double Bow, he does get -1 special cooldown, and if he's not adjacent to any kind of ally, then he can get +5 to all of his stats, and also the close counter effect. So this kind of weapon was actually kind of decent a couple of years back when in Aether Raids offense, you could run, you know, an Omni tank, and getting this close counter would be really nice because you wouldn't have to use your slotty skill. But nowadays, units do try to specialize, and Shinon is simply not going to be having the bulk to take on the modern melee threats. There's no way he's going to be able to tank Brave Crom or like Brave Seliph. So yeah, I don't think this weapon really holds up too well, but it's definitely unique. And most of the archers are going to be focused on nuking. And he does get comparisons from young Innes, and now Legendary can just nuke with his better Deadeye that actually scales off his speed, so that's actually pretty strong. And he is also a very strong far-safe tank buster. We did get a taste of free-to-play Deadeye in terms of young Innes, and you will see that their attack stat is pretty similar. Shinon is of course a bit faster than Innes, but at the end of the day, Innes can still nuke pretty hard with his weapon that has Deadeye built into it. So you can actually run Ruptured Sky, Moonbow, or Glimmer and have Time Pulse and pretty much get a better Deadeye. So Shinon does face that kind of competition. So only get Shinon if you're a big fan of him, and he's not exactly going to be, you know, standing out as much as Volke. So if you want to upgrade his kit, then you can of course give him the standard archer kit in any kind of Hall of Forms. So Whitecap Bow is just an amazing weapon for nuking for these archers, and it has become a bit better now because you can actually run the tempo skill and get the null follow-up out of the Sacred Seal. And then you can just run attack speed ideal, and this can actually give you the most defenses, which is going to be appreciated. And then attack speed unity could also be run as just an alternate option because it will be having good synergy with the Oath 4 skill as well. And I would highly recommend getting speed defense tempo because not only it's a rare skill, it's also pretty much the best lobby option to pick up so that your specials do not get denied. And for an archer who wants to nuke, that's a really good thing. Legendary Alm could tell a thing or two about that. You could also pick up Special Spiral, but Tempo is pretty much the best skill I would recommend. And Attack Speed Oath 4, again, is a really amazing offensive skill that you can run on these units who already have Time Pulse in their slots here like Volke and Shinon. So it can just give them the teleportation, and if you actually want to use him with his Double Bow niche with that close counter, then at high and max investment, you can definitely run him with Speed Smoke 4 so that he can actually have some help for tanking the melee matchups. So Speed Smoke 4 could be done, but keep in mind only for like high or max investment. Otherwise, Attack Speed Oath 4 is going to be fine. Ilyana is the final unit of this batch, and she's a blue infantry mage with a fox tome. Her base kit is definitely not impressive because she is a 3-star 4-star unit, so you can definitely cater with some of the premium skills, and she is going to be the type of unit that you only invest into if you were already building her up or you were on your way to plus and merging her, so you can just save your fodder and just get some premium skills. But Ilyana is definitely not without her competition in the blue infantry mage pool. When it comes to 3-star 4-star units, there is Tatiana, who just has a bit more speed than her at the cost of having slightly less attack, resistance, and defense, and Miriel is also there with a bit more balanced defense while also having significantly higher speed with her super boon. Now, we also had one blue infantry mage in Hall of Forms a couple of months back, and that was Bronya. So Bronya is going to be getting her weapon refine in June 2023, so next year. And then at the rate we're going at, Ilyana should be getting her weapon refine in like late 2024. So it's pretty much 2 years until her weapon refine, and Bronya gets one in a couple of months essentially. So if you already got Bronya as a unit in Hall of Forms, then you might not have the highest incentive of getting Ilyana, because even though Bronya has got less resistance than her, she does have a preferred weapon in Thimble Vetter. But keep in mind that Ilyana can definitely become a lot better if she gets a good Arcane Blue tome. But one thing that we have seen with an arcane weapon both of the times is that they have guaranteed follow-up attack built into it. So for a unit like Ilyana who doesn't have the highest speed, that is actually going to be helping you kit out her kit in terms of just stacking up the bulk. So attack resistance finish is actually available in this Hall of Form, so you can get that so that you can get the healing, get the true damage, and also get the extra attack and resistance. It's pretty much the best option you can get for a bulky Ilyana. And if you want to build up bulky Ilyana, then I would say that try to get Spider Plush because it has a really good defensive effect and guard built into it. Pack Blooms can also work with the healing, but we're already getting healing out of the finish skill, so I think it's better to go with a guard skill in Spider Plush, and it can also help you with your bulk. And attack resistance tempo is pretty much the best lobby option to pick up. But if you're unable to get that, then lull attack resistance or special spiral can work. The reason why tempo skill is really good is because it does have good synergy with the finish skill, so that you can trigger your special and get the effect out of the finish skill. So that's why it's really good. And because Ilyana is not the fastest unit when we are investing into her bulk, you should probably just be getting attack smoke force so that you can get that follow-up negation. And this kind of build can work even without quicker post if she ends up getting a good arcane blue tome that has auto follow up. So I really hope that that can happen and she can become free from this quicker post sacred seal, because the threshold of it is really not good. Even though like you're going to be getting the healing to hopefully keep it up, it is still not the most ideal thing. But if you want to just stack up speed on her and you don't really care about quicker post, then this could be done, and this way she's going to be a lot less susceptible to null follow up. So with this kind of build, she can reach over 70 speed. So it is workable speed and you can definitely stack it up. But I know many people do dislike stacking up speed on these kinds of bulky units, but it really depends on which kind of way you want to build. If you want to build the bulky route, then this is the option. But for the speedy route, I would definitely recommend getting Flora Guide or Drifting Grace. Now, the thing is that these weapons are already available. Like Drifting Grace is available in Divine Codes, and we already got a 5-star loot as the Ephemera Manual. So she does have Flora Guide. So depending on which one you're more likely to give to someone else, you can try and get that weapon. I do like Flora Guide a bit more because of its rain effect. Both of these options are actually pretty good. The rain effect can support your allies, and the Different Grace healing is going to be having good synergy with the ideal skill. So on Ilyana, we just want to have max speed possible, so attack speed ideal really helps with that. Unfortunately, there is no attack speed finish available, so Shinon and Speedy Ilyana are definitely going to be missing out on that. Attack speed unity can again work with Oath 4 skill, and null follow up is really needed in her slot base so that we can stack up more speed with her Sacred Seal. If you run null follow up as a Sacred Seal, then you're going to be missing out on some stats. So if you think that null follow up is a lot easier to get, which it is with Divine Codes and on so many units, then you can just try and get the rare attack resistance tempo, which is going to be pretty nice even though it's not the speed variant. But it could be a good skill to get with a 2 cooldown special like Ruptured Sky. And then finally, attack speed Oath 4, like always, on like so many units in this batch is going to be amazing for her slot C for the offenses, the good synergy with the ideal skill, and also the fact that you can have the fun teleportation. I really love the teleportation that this Oath for skill can trigger, honestly. So yeah, this is the Speedy Ilyana build. I'm probably going to be going for this one myself on my main account because I do like her. So I'm going to be trying to get that, but bulky Ilyana could work definitely if she ends up getting an auto follow-up arcane weapon, which I think is probably going to happen because they are going to be trying to making arcane weapons that can be worked out with majority of the units instead of just select few units. So that could help. But if that weapon ends up like Arcane Grima and actually provides you more speed, then the speed build actually gets better as well. So again, it's a bit of a gamble, as it is with many of these Forma units. So if that weapon has speed, then she can stack up even more speed and she's going to be a lot less susceptible to enemy null follow-up. For the next month's Hall of Forms, we're going to be having Radiant Dawn, and I think these are the most likely candidates. Now, the precedence that Volke has set here means that we're probably going to be seeing a lot more recent units, so I feel a bit more confident in putting Peleus and Kurth Naga over here, as they are one of the more recent units, and also, Pirate Vika. So I think the first lineup is kind of likely because Daginsia has been in the Ephemera manuals, and they do put Ephemera manual free units many times in Hall of Forms. Not to mention, we just had Arcane Grima as an Arcane Breath, so maybe they are going to be trying to use that to monetize the Hall of Forms. It could happen. They could even get like some other sword unit in the future for maybe Arcane Elutnir. And Peleus is also one of those units because if an Arcane Red Tome comes out, then he's of course going to be becoming better, and he's the grail option out of here. Even though he doesn't have a preferred weapon, he's an insanely popular unit. So I think many people might just want to go for him. And Raphael was also present in the Ephemera manual. Not to mention they love their 4-star focuses, and they also love putting dancers in this. So it could be Raphael, and that would be a really good option. And the Neolithia is also same case, being given out as a free Ephemera manual. So I think she might appear actually. And every Hall of Forms does have one magical source of damage, either in a dragon or a mage. And Kurth Naga could also happen, another really good user of Arcane Breath, and if they put Peleus, then I don't think George is going to be there. There are not too many blue options. It is, just George and Raphael from the recent options, and for green, it is just Bride Nyla and Neolithia from the recent options. And Pirate Vika could also happen because she is in the Divine Codes along with Nyla as well, so those Divine Code units, we do see them in Hall of Form, so that is pretty much my logic behind the picks that I've done here. And Radiant Dawn doesn't really have a huge amount of units present. Ninja Shinon could also happen, honestly, but I feel like they've already put like enough archers in these Hall of Forms, and even red archers like a Grin and Summer Joshua, so I'm not really too sure. But it could happen, Shinon after Shinon. So let me know in the comments what you think about my guesses, and come back to this video next month to see if I was right or wrong and how much I was right, because I don't think it is going to be too out of the scope of this because the choices are limited with how they are choosing now. So hope you all enjoyed this video. Make sure to share this video with your friends if they're trying to build up any unit from this Hall of Forms. And if you enjoyed, I would really appreciate a like and a comment. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks or by becoming a YouTube member down below as well. And for more FEH videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I wish YouTube sub boxes would show my videos as fast as Volke got into Hall of Forms. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.